Admiral Daquan stood at the observation window of Earth's orbital command station, watching the blue planet below. His hands were clasped behind his back, his jaw tight. Behind him, officers moved quietly through the command center, their faces grim. "How many this time?" Day asked without turning around. Captain Yuna Kim stepped forward, holding a data tablet. Her voice was steady, but her eyes showed the pain. 847 confirmed dead on Colony Tajin. Most of them were civilians, families, children. Day closed his eyes for a moment. 847. That number joined the thousands of others who had died over the past 3 years. The Vraxel Dominion called them research raids. The Galactic Council called them internal security matters. Earth called them what they were: murder. The Vraxel ships jumped away before our defense fleet arrived, Yuna continued. Same pattern as before. They hit fast, take what they want, kill anyone who resists, and vanish. And Ambassador Hana. Day turned to face his captain. She's preparing to address the Galactic Council, again. Yuna's voice carried a hint of bitterness. It will be our 127th formal complaint. Day walked to his desk and sat down heavily. On the wall behind him hung a quote from ancient Earth history: "Speak softly and carry a big stick." For 30 years, humanity had spoken softly to the galaxy. They had joined the Galactic Council with hope and good faith. They had shared their culture, their art, their science. They had made friends among the peaceful species. But they had also made enemies. The Vraxel Dominion was a coalition of predatory species who respected only strength. They had tested humanity from the beginning, pushing boundaries, seeing how far they could go. When Earth responded with diplomatic protests instead of weapons, the Vraxel learned the wrong lesson. They thought humans were weak. "Sir, Dr. Tay is here to see you," an officer announced. Dr. Tay Song entered the office. He was the head of Earth's Xenoanthropology and Intelligence Division, a thin man with sharp eyes that missed nothing. "Admiral," Tay said, placing a secure data chip on the desk. "The analysis you requested. The Vraxel psychology profile is complete." "And?" Day asked. "They will not stop," Tay said simply. "In their culture, mercy is weakness, restraint is cowardice. They believe we are afraid to fight them. Every diplomatic protest we file makes them bolder. Every peaceful response proves to them that we are prey." Day picked up the data chip and turned it over in his fingers. "Then they do not understand humans at all." "No, sir, they do not." Across the solar system at the Galactic Council station, Ambassador Hana Park prepared for another session. She was a woman of grace and intelligence, chosen for her ability to build bridges between cultures. For 30 years, she had been Earth's voice in the galaxy. She had negotiated trade agreements, resolved disputes, and built alliances. But now she was tired. Tired of speaking to beings who would not listen. Tired of pleading for justice that would never come. She entered the council chamber, a massive spherical room where representatives from 200 species gathered. The Vraxel delegation sat in their section, their reptilian faces showing no emotion. Their leader, Warlord Grentek, watched her with eyes that saw only prey. "The council recognizes Ambassador Hana Park of Earth," the council speaker announced. Hana walked to the center platform. She had given this speech so many times before. She presented the evidence: recordings of the attack, lists of the dead, images of destroyed homes. She spoke of families torn apart, of children who would never grow up, of a colony that had done nothing to provoke this violence. The council listened in polite silence. When she finished, the speaker asked if anyone wished to respond. Warlord Grentek rose. His voice was a deep growl that carried across the chamber. "The Dominion acknowledges the unfortunate incident at the human colony. However, our actions were necessary for security research. The humans were not cooperative with our request for biological samples. We took what we needed." "Biological samples?" Hana's voice remained calm, but her eyes blazed. "You slaughtered nearly 1,000 people for biological samples?" "We take what we need," Grentek said. "This is our right as a Dominion species. The humans should be honored to contribute to our research." Some of the council members shifted uncomfortably. Others remained silent. No one spoke in Earth's defense. This council was founded on principles of peace and mutual respect, Hana said. Where is the justice for my people? The speaker's voice was apologetic but firm. The council has reviewed your complaint. As before, we find this to be an internal security matter between Earth and the Vraxil Dominion. We recommend further diplomatic dialogue. Laughter came from the Vraxil section. Actual laughter at the deaths of 847 humans. Hana stood silent for a long moment. Then she nodded slowly. I understand. Thank you for your time, Council. She walked out of the chamber with dignity, her back straight, her head high. But inside, something had broken. Or perhaps something had finally been decided. 12 hours later, every major power in the galaxy received the same message. It was short, simple, and broadcast on all channels. The voice was Admiral Day Kwan's, and he spoke with absolute calm. This is Admiral Day Kwan of Earth's Deep Space Fleet. For 30 years, humanity has sought peace with the galaxy. We have endured insults, provocations, and attacks. We have filed complaints, sought justice through proper channels, and maintained our civility even as our people died. This ends now. The Vraxil Dominion has 72 hours to cease all hostile actions against human territories and surrender those responsible for the attacks. This is not a negotiation. This is not a threat. This is a courtesy. We are giving you the chance to stop because we still believe in offering peace first. But if you continue, if you attack even one more human, we will stop being civil. You have been warned. The transmission ended. Across Earth's military installations, orders went out in encrypted bursts. Ships began moving from hidden positions. Weapon systems that had been dormant for decades came online. Crews reported to stations they had trained for in secret. In his office, Admiral Day looked at the countdown timer on his screen. 72 hours. He hoped the Vraxil would be smart enough to stop. He hoped diplomacy would still work. But he knew better. The Vraxil understood only strength, and they were about to learn that humanity had been holding back not because they were weak, but because they were civilized. There was a difference. The galaxy was about to discover what that difference meant. Warlord Grentek watched the human message for the third time. Around him, his senior commanders waited for his response. The bridge of his flagship was dark and cold, designed for beings who hunted in shadow. 72 hours, one of his commanders hissed. They give us an ultimatum? Grentek's lips pulled back in what his species considered a smile. The prey believes it has teeth. How amusing. Should we respond, Warlord? Yes. Grentek leaned forward in his command throne. Attack 2 more colonies, simultaneously. Show these humans what happens when they threaten the Dominion. The orders went out within the hour. 2 Vraxil battle groups moved toward human space, targeting Colony Minseo and Colony Borum. Both were small settlements, barely defended. Easy targets. The attacks came 36 hours after Earth's warning. The Vraxil ships dropped out of faster-than-light travel, powered up their weapons, and began their assault. But this time, something was different. The human colonies had evacuated. The Vraxil found empty cities, abandoned homes, and not a single living person. Where are they? A Vraxil captain demanded, scanning the silent streets below. He never got his answer. His ship's systems began failing one by one. Communications went dark. Sensors showed static. Even backup systems crashed. Within minutes, both Vraxil battle groups were floating blind and deaf in space. On Earth, Commander Jin Lee watched the operation unfold from his command station aboard the Vengeful Dawn. His team had spent 3 weeks infiltrating the target colonies, setting up the trap. The Vraxil had walked right into it. Ghost Protocol is active, reported Hai Choi, his tactical AI specialist. All Vraxil ships are experiencing cascade system failures. They cannot see us, hear us, or detect our ships. Confirmed, Jin said calmly. Maintain electronic silence. Let them wonder what happened. The Vraxil were not the only ones watching. The Galactic Council had been monitoring the situation, expecting another massacre. Instead, they witnessed something unprecedented. The Vraxel ship simply went dark. No explosions, no weapons fire, just silence. Ambassador Hana requested an emergency council session. This time, when she entered the chamber, every species was already there. They had all seen what happened. They wanted answers. Ambassador Park, the speaker said nervously. The council would like to understand the situation at colonies Minseo and Borum. Hana stood at the center platform, but she was not alone. Behind her, on holographic display, appeared Admiral Dae Kwan, Captain Yuna Kim, and Dr. Tae Song. The message was clear. This was not just a diplomatic visit. The situation is simple, Hana began. We gave the Vraxel Dominion 72 hours to stop their attacks. They responded by attacking 2 more of our colonies. We have responded in turn. You have destroyed their ships? The speaker asked. No, Hana said. We have disabled them. The crews are alive and unharmed. We could have destroyed them. We chose not to. This is the difference between Earth and the Dominion. We still value life, even the lives of our enemies. Warlord Grentek stood up, his massive form towering over the other delegates. Tricks and deception. You ambushed our ships with some cowardly weapon. You hide like prey in the shadows. Face us in honest battle, humans, and we will crush you. Admiral Dae's hologram turned to face the Vraxel warlord. When he spoke, his voice was ice. You want honest battle? You have 36 hours left on our deadline. Use them wisely. The Dominion fears nothing, Grentek roared. Our fleet is 10 times the size of your known forces. You have shown your hand, human. You have electronic weapons. We will adapt. We will harden our systems. And then we will come for Earth itself and show you what true power means. The council chamber erupted in concerned murmurs. Species whispered to each other, worried about a potential war that could spill across the galaxy. Dr. Tae Song stepped forward in the hologram. Warlord Grentek, you have made several incorrect assumptions. First, you assume the ships you know about are our entire fleet. Second, you assume electronic warfare is our only capability. Third, and most importantly, you assume we are bluffing. You are weak, Grentek snarled. 30 years you have been in this council. 30 years of pleading and begging for justice. If you had real power, you would have used it long ago. Hana smiled. And it was not a warm smile. You mistake restraint for weakness. You mistake civility for cowardice. You think because we chose not to fight, we cannot fight. This is your fatal error. She placed a data chip into the council's central system. Images appeared on every screen in the chamber. Ships. Hundreds of them. Thousands of them. Massive vessels that dwarfed anything the galaxy had ever seen. Weapons platforms. Defense grids. Technologies that should not exist. For 20 years, Hana said quietly, while we spoke softly to you, while we filed complaints and sought peaceful solutions, we were also building. We studied every species in this council. We analyzed your technologies, your tactics, your psychology. We prepared for the day when talking would not be enough. The council sat in stunned silence. The images showed construction facilities hidden in asteroid fields, shipyards in dark nebulae, weapons testing ranges beyond the galaxy's edge. All of it secret. All of it unknown until this moment. This cannot be real, a council member whispered. Captain Yuna Kim spoke for the first time. It is very real. What you see is approximately 40% of our total military capability. We kept the rest hidden because we believe in showing measured force. But make no mistake, if the Dominion continues its attacks, they will see all of it. Warlord Grentek stared at the images. For the first time, uncertainty crossed his features. You would start a war over a few raids? Over some dead colonists? Admiral Dae's expression hardened. You call the murder of our people a few raids. You dismiss thousands of deaths as unimportant. This is exactly why we must respond. Because beings like you only understand one language, overwhelming force. The Council will not stand for, the speaker began. The Council had 30 years to stand for justice, Hana interrupted. Her voice was still calm, still diplomatic, but underlaid with steel. You had 30 years to protect the innocent. You chose politics over principles. You chose convenience over courage. So now Earth will stand alone, and we will enforce the peace you were unwilling to protect. She turned back to Grentek. You have 36 hours remaining. I suggest you spend them preparing to surrender those responsible for the attacks and agreeing to complete disarmament. Because when this deadline expires, the fleet you see in these images will activate. And we will not disable your ships next time. You threaten the Dominion? Grentek's voice shook with rage. No, Hana said. We promise. There is a difference. The council session ended in chaos. Species argued among themselves, some demanding action against Earth, others quietly beginning to reconsider their allegiances. The galaxy had believed humans were weak, simple, easy to ignore. They had been catastrophically wrong. In his command center, Commander Jin Lee received new orders. His ships, part of the Ghost Fleet that had remained hidden for 2 decades, began moving into position. They traveled through routes that did not exist on any galactic map, using technology that bent space itself. The countdown continued. 36 hours, then 30, then 24. The Vraxel Dominion scrambled to harden their systems, to prepare for what they still believed would be an electronic warfare campaign. They gathered their fleets, thousands of warships converging on defensive positions. They prepared for the war they understood. They had no idea what was actually coming. 12 hours before the deadline, every Vraxel military installation across 50 systems lost all external communications simultaneously. Their sensors showed nothing. Their scans detected no ships, no weapons, no threats. But deep in space, in the dark between stars, the Ghost Fleet waited. Silent. Patient. Ready. The Vraxel had ignored Earth's warning. They had laughed at humanity's pain. They had mistaken mercy for weakness. They were about to learn the truth. The most dangerous predator is the one that chooses not to hunt until the moment it decides otherwise. The deadline expired at 0800 hours, Earth Standard Time. Warlord Grentek sat on his throne on the Dominion homeworld, surrounded by his war council. Around the planet, 3,000 warships held defensive positions. The Vraxel fleet was ready. They had hardened their systems against electronic warfare. They had prepared for a human attack. What they were not prepared for was what actually happened. At exactly 0800 hours, the sky above Vraxil Prime tore open, not with weapons fire or explosions, but with reality itself seeming to split apart. Ships appeared from nowhere. Massive vessels, each one 3 times the size of the largest Vraxil dreadnought. They had not traveled through normal space or faster-than-light lanes. They had simply appeared, as if stepping through a door. The Ghost Fleet had arrived. Admiral Day Quan stood on the bridge of the flagship Hammer of Terra. Around him, his crew worked with practiced efficiency. There was no panic, no excitement, just calm professionalism. They had trained for this day for 20 years. All ships reporting ready status, Captain Yuna reported from her station. We have 52 dreadnoughts in position around Vraxil Prime. Ghost squadrons are active across 49 other systems. Gravitic shields at full power, added Wu Nam, the chief engineer. Singularity drives operating within normal parameters. Day nodded. Open a channel to the Vraxil defense fleet. The communication went out on all frequencies. Day's face appeared on every Vraxil ship's screen. This is Admiral Day Quan of Earth. You were warned. You were given time to surrender. You chose to continue your attacks. The time for words has ended. Attack! Warlord Grentek screamed the order. All ships, fire at will. Destroy the humans. The Vraxil fleet opened fire with everything they had. Thousands of weapons, from plasma cannons to kinetic missiles, filled the space between the fleets. Enough firepower to destroy 100 worlds converged on the human ships and bounced off harmlessly. The gravitic shield surrounding each human dreadnought bent space itself, creating a barrier that no conventional weapon could penetrate. Energy weapons dispersed into nothing. Missiles exploded against invisible walls. Kinetic rounds simply stopped, hanging in space for a moment before drifting away. They are not damaged, a Vraxel captain reported in shock. Our weapons have no effect. Impossible, Grentek roared. Concentrate all fire on a single ship. Overwhelm their defenses. Every weapon in the Vraxel fleet targeted the Hammer of Terra. For 30 seconds, Day's flagship disappeared behind a wall of explosions and energy. The Vraxel commanders allowed themselves a moment of hope. When the light faded, the Hammer of Terra was completely undamaged. Our turn, Day said quietly. Weapons free. Target military installations only, no civilian casualties. What happened next would be recorded in galactic history as the Battle of Vraxel Prime, though calling it a battle was generous. It was more like a lesson, a demonstration, a revelation of what humanity had been hiding for 2 decades. The human dreadnoughts did not use conventional weapons. They used technology that the galaxy had thought impossible. Quantum-locked missiles that could not miss their targets. Energy beams that passed through shields as if they did not exist. Gravity weapons that crushed ships like paper. The first Vraxel ship died in 3 seconds. A beam of pure force cut through its hull from bow to stern, and it simply came apart. The second and third ships lasted no longer. Then the 10th. The 50th. The 100th. Captain Kai Huang piloted his experimental fighter Nightfall through the battle space, his small craft moving like a living thing. The Vraxel had never seen anything so fast, so agile. His weapons were precise, surgical. He took out weapon systems without destroying entire ships. He disabled engines without killing crews. This is Alpha Squad, Kai reported. Vraxel Northern Defense Grid is down. No casualties on their side. Confirmed. Alpha Squad, Yuna responded. Proceed to next target. Across the planet, similar reports came in. The human fighters moved through the Vraxel fleet like sharks through fish. They were everywhere and nowhere. They struck with precision that seemed impossible. They knew exactly where to hit, exactly how to disable without destroying. On the ground, Lieutenant Su Yang led her drop corps through the Vraxel command center. Her Marines wore armor that made them nearly invisible, carried weapons that could punch through any defense. They moved like ghosts, stunning guards, disabling security systems, capturing key personnel. Command center secure, Su reported. All Vraxel commanders in custody. 0 casualties on both sides. General Sung Park, watching from orbit, allowed himself a small smile. Good work, Lieutenant. Hold position and await extraction. The entire battle lasted 11 minutes. 11 minutes to disable 3,000 warships. 11 minutes to capture the Vraxel homeworld. 11 minutes to break an empire. And across 49 other systems, the same scenario played out. The Ghost Fleet appeared, disabled the Vraxel forces, and took control. No civilians were harmed. No unnecessary destruction occurred. The humans were precise, efficient, and utterly unstoppable. On Earth, Dr. Rin Moon watched the results from her laboratory. The gravitic disruptor network she had designed was performing perfectly. The singularity drives, the quantum weapons, the shield systems, all of it working exactly as planned. 20 years of work, she said to her assistant. 20 years of building, testing, preparing. And they still thought we were weak. In the Galactic Council chamber, species watched in horror as the news spread. The Vraxel Dominion, one of the most powerful military forces in the galaxy, had been defeated in less than 12 minutes. Not just defeated, utterly crushed. And the humans had done it without killing a single civilian, without unnecessary destruction. They had done it with precision and restraint, even in the midst of overwhelming force. How is this possible? A council member whispered. Where did they get this technology? Ambassador Hana, standing in the chamber, answered simply. We made it. While you debated and delayed, while the Vraxel killed our people, we worked. We studied. We built. Humans are very good at solving problems. And you gave us 30 years to solve this one. A transmission came from Admiral Day, broadcast across all council channels. His face was calm, his voice measured. The Vraxel military has been neutralized. Their commanders are in custody. Their weapons are disabled. This could have been avoided. We gave them every chance to stop. We gave them warnings. We gave them time. We gave them opportunities to choose peace. He paused, and when he spoke again, His voice carried a weight that made even the bravest species shiver. This is mercy. We are showing you mercy. We have disabled their military without slaughtering their people. We have captured, not killed. We have controlled our response even in the midst of war. But understand this, all of you watching, this restraint is a choice we make. Continue to attack human territories. Continue to ignore our rights. Continue to mistake our civilization for weakness. And we will show you what happens when Earth stops being merciful. The transmission showed the Vraxil fleet, thousands of ships floating helpless in space. It showed the human dreadnoughts, massive and powerful, their weapons silent but ready. It showed the reality that the galaxy had not wanted to believe. Humanity was not weak. They had never been weak. They had simply been patient. We will hold the Vraxil homeworld until their government agrees to full disarmament and reparations to all victims, Day continued. We will occupy their military installations until they prove they can be peaceful neighbors. And we will maintain our fleet at full readiness, watching, waiting, ready to respond to any further aggression. He looked directly into the camera, and it felt like he was looking at each species individually. We did not want this war. We tried every diplomatic option, but since you forced our hand, we will finish this completely. The age of attacking humans with impunity is over. The age of treating us as prey has ended. From this moment forward, the galaxy will remember. Humans are friends to the peaceful and death to those who would harm the innocent. The transmission ended. Across the galaxy, species that had watched humans with contempt for 30 years suddenly looked at them with fear and respect, and the beginning of understanding. Warlord Grentek, sitting in a holding cell aboard the Hammer of Terra, stared at the walls. He had led the most powerful military force in his region of space. He had conquered worlds, destroyed fleets, built an empire on strength and fear. And he had been defeated in 11 minutes by beings he had called prey. The irony was not lost on him. Neither was the lesson. The most dangerous predator is not the one that roars the loudest or strikes the fastest. It is the one that watches, learns, prepares, and then moves with absolute precision when the time is right. Humanity had been that predator all along. The galaxy had just been too blind to see it. Vice Admiral Huenbeck studied the tactical display in the war room, deep beneath Earth's surface. Around him, dozens of analysts tracked every movement across the galaxy. 3 weeks had passed since the Battle of Vraxil Prime, and the situation was not over. The Vraxil Dominion refuses to surrender, reported Intelligence Officer G1. Their secondary fleet is gathering at the Krell system. 4,000 warships. They are calling it the Great Armada. 4,000, Hyun repeated. They lost 3,000 in 11 minutes, and now they gather 4,000 more. Do they not understand mathematics? G1 pulled up a psychological profile on the main screen. Sir, my analysis shows the Vraxil leadership believes our victory at Vraxil Prime was luck. They think we caught them by surprise. They believe that in a prepared head-to-head battle, their numbers will overwhelm us. They think we got lucky, Hyun said slowly. After everything we showed them, they still think we are weak. It is their fundamental nature, Ji-won explained. The Vraxil culture is based on dominance through physical strength. They cannot accept that a species they saw as prey could truly be superior. They need to believe it was a trick, an accident, anything except the truth. Hyun turned to his communications officer. Get me Admiral Day. Minutes later, Admiral Day's face appeared on the screen. He was aboard the Hammer of Terra, still holding position above Vraxil Prime. Vice Admiral, what do we have? Sir, the Vraxil are massing their reserve fleet. 4,000 ships heading for Earth. They plan to strike at our homeworld directly. Day was quiet for a moment. Then he nodded. Of course they do. They think if they can destroy Earth, they win. They do not understand that Earth is just one world. Humanity is everywhere now. Orders, sir? We intercept them, Day said. But this time, we do not just disable them. We show them exactly how outmatched they are. We show them that we have been holding back. We show them mercy is our choice, not our limitation. The The Great Armada of the Vraxil Dominion was the largest fleet ever assembled in their history. 4,000 warships, carrying the best warriors of a dozen predatory species. They traveled together, a moving wall of destructive power. Their commanders were confident. This time, there would be no surprise. This time, they would fight humans in open battle and prove who the true predators were. They never reached Earth. 3 light years from the Sol system, they encountered the human fleet. Only it was not the same fleet from Vraxil Prime. It was larger, much larger. Where 50 dreadnoughts had appeared before, now 200 waited. And surrounding them were 1,000 smaller ships, each one still larger than any Vraxil vessel. Commander Ho Kim stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Eternal Vigil. His siege fleet had been positioned here for 2 weeks, waiting. They had known the Vraxil would come. They had predicted the route, the timing, even the exact formation. Because Earth had been wargaming this scenario for 30 years. "Sir, the Vraxil fleet has dropped out of faster-than-light travel," reported the sensor officer. "They are assuming attack formation." "As predicted," Ho said. He pulled up the tactical analysis that intelligence officer G1 had provided. Every ship position, every likely tactic, every command decision the Vraxil would make, it was all there. Humanity had spent 3 decades studying Vraxil military doctrine, psychology, and decision-making patterns. They knew what the enemy would do before the enemy did. "They will try to flank us," Ho said, watching the display. "They will send 30% of their force to our left, 30% to our right, and 40% straight ahead. Their commanders believe in the hammer and anvil tactic." "Confirmed," the tactical officer said moments later. "Vraxil fleet is splitting exactly as predicted." "Match their movements," Ho ordered. "Show them we know their playbook." The human fleet divided perfectly to counter every Vraxil maneuver. When the enemy went left, human ships were already there. When they tried to flank right, they found their path blocked. Every trick, every tactic, every strategic move the Vraxil attempted had already been anticipated and countered. "They are frustrated," the communications officer reported, "intercepting their battle communications. Their commanders are confused. They say we should not be able to predict their movements this accurately." "Tell them why," Ho said. A transmission went out to the Vraxil fleet. G1's face appeared on their screens. "Attention Vraxil Armada. This is Intelligence Officer G1 of Earth. For 30 years, we have studied your species. We have analyzed every battle you have fought, every tactic you have employed, every strategic decision you have made. We have built computer models of your commander's thinking patterns. We know how you fight because we have made it our business to know. You are not fighting an unprepared enemy. You are fighting an enemy that knows you better than you know yourselves." The Vraxil response was predictable. They attacked. 4,000 ships opened fire simultaneously. The space between the fleets became a storm of energy and metal. It was the largest battle the galaxy had seen in a century. It lasted 7 minutes. The human fleet did not just defeat the Vraxil, they dismantled them. Every weapon humanity had held in reserve came into play. Singularity cannons that created tiny black holes, consuming entire ships. Quantum disruptors that tore apart molecular bonds. Gravitic mines that crushed vessels under impossible pressure. But the real weapon was not technology. It was knowledge. The humans knew exactly which ships to target first, which commanders to disable to cause maximum confusion, which formations to break to create panic. They fought with perfect precision because they had practiced this exact battle 1,000 times in simulation. "Their fleet is breaking," the tactical officer reported. "They are attempting to retreat." "Let them go," Ho ordered. "Track their movements. We will follow." But the Vraxil fleet had nowhere to go. Human ships appeared in every direction, blocking every escape route. They had not just intercepted the Armada, they had surrounded it completely. Admiral Day's voice came over all channels, speaking to both human and Vraxil forces. "Vraxil commanders, your fleet is defeated. We have disabled 60% of your ships. The remaining 40% are surrounded. You cannot win this battle. You cannot escape, but you can still choose how this ends." On the Vraxel flagship, the Supreme Commander stared at the tactical display. Everywhere he looked, human ships waited. His great armada, the pride of the Dominion, was trapped. "We surrender," he said quietly. "We surrender." But day was not finished. "Before we accept your surrender, I want you to understand something. What you see here is not our full strength. We have 6 more fleets of this size held in reserve. We have weapons we have not yet deployed. We have technologies you cannot imagine. We could have destroyed your entire species in the first hour of this war. We chose not to. We disabled rather than destroyed. We captured rather than killed. Do you understand why?" The Vraxel commander said nothing. "Because we value life," Day continued. "Even your lives. Even after everything you have done, even after all the humans you have murdered, we still believe every life has worth. This is not weakness. This is civilization. This is the difference between us and you." The Admiral's face filled every screen in both fleets. "We are going to escort you back to Vraxel Prime. We are going to help your government reorganize under a new system. We are going to ensure reparations are paid to every family you harmed, every colony you destroyed. And we are going to maintain a presence in your space for as long as it takes to ensure you become peaceful neighbors instead of predators." He paused, and when he spoke again, his voice was softer but no less firm. "We could end you. We could turn every Vraxel world into dust. We have the power, but we will not. Because that is not who we are. We are humans. We believe in justice, not genocide. We believe in rehabilitation, not extermination. We believe that even you can learn to be better." On Vraxil Prime, Mina Ryu and her diplomatic corps team were already working with Vraxil civilians who had opposed their government's militaristic policies. They were building frameworks for new government, new laws, new ways of thinking. It was slow work, difficult work, but it was possible. "Some of them want to change," Mina reported to Earth. "Many Vraxil civilians are tired of war. They want peace. They want trade. They want to raise their children without fear." "Then that is what we will help them build," Ambassador Hana responded. "Not through force, but through support. We will show them there is another way." The Vraxil fleet began its slow journey back to their homeworld, surrounded by human ships. Not as prisoners, though they had been defeated, but as beings who were being given a chance to choose differently. In the Galactic Council chamber, 17 species watched these events unfold. And then, in a move that shocked the remaining members, those 17 species announced they were forming a new alliance with Earth. The Compact of Terra, they called it. A mutual defense pact based on principles of peace, justice, and the protection of the innocent. "Why?" the council speaker asked one of the departing ambassadors. "Why abandon the council?" The ambassador looked back. "Because for 30 years we watched you ignore injustice. We watched you let the strong prey on the weak. Earth showed us there is another way. They showed us that strength and mercy can coexist. They showed us what real civilization looks like. The galaxy was changing. The balance of power was shifting. And at the center of it all was humanity, still offering peace, still preferring diplomacy, but now carrying a very large stick that everyone could see." 5 years had passed since the message that changed everything. President Yoon Kang stood at the window of his office on Earth, looking out at the city below. The streets were peaceful, busy with people going about their lives. It was hard to believe that half a decade ago, the galaxy had teetered on the edge of a devastating war. "Mr. President," his aide said, "Ambassador Hana is here for the council address rehearsal." Yoon turned as Hana entered. She looked different than she had 5 years ago, more confident, more at ease. The weight she had carried for so long, the burden of speaking for a species no one would listen to, had lifted. "Are you ready for tomorrow?" Yoon asked. Hana smiled. "I have been preparing for this speech my entire career. Everything that happened, everything we endured, it was all leading to this moment. Tomorrow would mark the 5th anniversary of the Compact of Terra. 5 years since 17 species had joined with Earth to form a new alliance. 5 years since the galaxy had learned that humanity was not to be trifled with. In orbit above Vraxel Prime, Admiral Day Quan walked through the corridors of the former Dominion Command Center, now a joint human Vraxel administration building. The transformation had been remarkable. Where once military displays had shown fleet positions and target acquisitions, now screens displayed trade routes and cultural exchange programs. Admiral, a young Vraxel officer, greeted him. Her name was Kella, and she was part of the new generation, those who had grown up during the peace, who had learned a different way. Officer Kella, Day nodded. How are the patrols? Quiet, sir. No incidents for 8 months now. The former raiders have either accepted the new government or left for the outer territories. Day allowed himself a small smile. 8 months. A record. In the first years after the war, there had been resistance. Die-hard Vraxel warriors who refused to accept defeat. But slowly, steadily, they had been won over. Not through force, but through results. Peace brought prosperity. Trade brought wealth. Cooperation brought benefits that conquest never had. Keep up the good work, officer, Day said. He continued his walk, eventually reaching the memorial garden. It had been built on the site of the former weapons testing facility. Now it was a place of reflection, where the names of every victim, human and Vraxel, were inscribed on stone walls. The garden was tended by volunteers from both species, working together to ensure the past was never forgotten. Senator Na Choi was there, as she often was. She had been one of the strongest advocates for peaceful integration, even during the war. Many had called her naive. Some had called her a traitor. But she had held firm in her belief that even former enemies could become friends. Admiral, she greeted him, I was hoping to see you before the council gathering. Senator, how are the cultural exchange programs progressing? Beyond our expectations, Na said, her eyes bright. We have 50,000 Vraxel students enrolled in human universities now, and 30,000 human students studying on Vraxel worlds. The young ones do not carry the old hatreds. They see each other as classmates, as friends. That is the real victory, Day said quietly. Not what we won in battle, but what we built afterward. On Earth, Dr. Tae Song sat in a conference room with representatives from 37 different species. They were discussing the latest technological exchange initiative. Humanity had agreed to share some of its innovations: medical technology, agricultural systems, environmental restoration techniques. In return, other species shared their own knowledge. The gravitic shield technology, a delegate asked hesitantly. Will Earth ever share that? Tae looked at the delegate calmly. When we are confident it will be used only for defense, yes. We are not hoarding our technology out of selfishness. We are being cautious because we remember what happened when the galaxy believed we were weak. We will share, but we will also verify. Trust, but verify. It is an old human saying. The delegate nodded, understanding. Earth had proven it would use force when necessary, but it had also proven it preferred cooperation. The galaxy was still learning to balance those two truths. In the Galactic Council chamber, preparations were underway for the anniversary address. The council had changed dramatically in 5 years. Where once 200 species had gathered, now there were 2 factions. 147 species remained in the traditional council. 53 species had joined the Compact of Terra. The split had been inevitable. The old council had represented a system where power and politics mattered more than justice. The Compact represented something different. A commitment to protecting the innocent and holding the powerful accountable. Ambassador Hana arrived early, walking through the chamber that had once been the site of so much frustration. How many times had she stood here, pleading for help that never came? How many speeches had she given to beings who would not listen? But now they listened. Now, when she spoke, the galaxy paid attention. The chamber filled quickly. Representatives from both the Council and the Compact took their places. There was tension between the two groups, but no hostility. The past 5 years had shown that both systems could coexist. The galaxy was large enough for different approaches to governance. President Yoon Kong gave the opening remarks, speaking of the journey humanity had taken. From a species eager to join the galactic community, to one dismissed and attacked, to one that had proven its strength while maintaining its principles. Then it was Hana's turn. She walked to the central platform and silence fell across the chamber. 5 years ago, she began, I stood in a chamber much like this one and delivered Earth's 127th complaint about attacks on our people. I presented evidence. I pleaded for justice. And I was dismissed. The council that was supposed to protect the innocent chose to protect the comfortable. She paused, letting the words sink in. Some of the traditional council members shifted uncomfortably. I do not say this to shame you, Hana continued. I say it to remind us all of an important truth. Justice delayed is justice denied. Peace without the strength to maintain it is merely a temporary pause before the next attack. We learned this lesson the hard way. We paid for it with the lives of our people. She gestured to the section where the compact members sat. These 53 species learned from our example. They saw that real peace requires both the desire for harmony and the capability to defend it. They saw that civilization is not about being weak or nice. It is about having the strength to be merciful and the wisdom to know when mercy has been exhausted. Admiral Day stood and joined her on the platform. Beside him came Dr. Tay, Captain Yuna, Commander Jin, and a dozen others who had been part of Earth's transformation. We did not want war, Day said, but when war came, we were ready. Not because we are naturally violent, but because we understand history. We study, we prepare. We hope for peace but plan for the worst. This is not paranoia. This is responsibility. Captain Yuna spoke next. In the 5 years since the war, the Compact has not fired a weapon in aggression. We have used our strength to protect trade routes, to stop piracy, to intervene in humanitarian crises. We have proven that power can be a force for good when wielded by those committed to justice. Dr. Tay stepped forward. We have also shared our knowledge freely with any species committed to peace. We have helped rebuild worlds damaged by war. We have provided medical aid during plagues. We have shown that our strength extends beyond weapons. It includes compassion, innovation, and cooperation. One by one, the human delegation spoke. And then, something unprecedented happened. Representatives from the compact species began to speak as well. They told stories of how Earth's intervention had saved their people, how human technology had improved their lives, how the principles of the compact had brought prosperity and security. A Vraxil delegate stood, one of the new generation who had never known the old ways. 5 years ago, my species was the enemy. We had killed humans. We had dismissed them as prey. We were wrong. The humans defeated us, but they did not destroy us. They could have. They had the power. Instead, they helped us rebuild. They helped us find a better path. Today, Vraxil ships patrol alongside human vessels, protecting trade routes. We have gone from predators to protectors. We have learned that true strength is not about who you can destroy, but who you can save. The chamber was silent. Even the traditional council members who had opposed the compact could not deny the results. The compact sectors were more peaceful, more prosperous, more stable than they had been in centuries. Hana spoke again. We are not here to gloat or to say we are better than you. We are here to offer a choice. The galaxy can continue as it has, with power and politics determining justice, or it can choose a different path. The compact is open to any species that commits to our principles, protect the innocent, hold the powerful accountable, and use strength in service of justice, not conquest. President Yoon concluded the address. Earth does not seek to rule the galaxy. We seek to be good neighbors, good partners, good friends. But we will also be fierce defenders of the innocent. We gave the galaxy a warning 5 years ago. Stop the attacks, or we stop being civil. That warning still stands. We prefer civility. We choose peace when possible. But we will never again allow our people to be slaughtered while we plead for help that will not come. The gathering ended not with applause or cheers, but with thoughtful silence. Species on both sides considered what had been said. Over the following months, 8 more species would leave the traditional council to join the compact. Others would remain but adopt similar principles in their own governance. The galaxy had learned. Not perfectly, not completely, but enough. On Earth, life continued. Children played in parks, unaware of the war that had nearly consumed their world. Cities grew. Art flourished. Science advanced. Humanity had proven it could fight, but it had also proven it preferred to build. Admiral Day retired to a small house by the ocean. He spent his days reading, gardening, and occasionally consulting with the Defense Department when they needed his insight. He had accomplished what he set out to do, ensure that humanity would never again be seen as weak, as prey, as something to be dismissed. Ambassador Hana continued her work, now as the chief coordinator of the compact. She built bridges between species, negotiated treaties, and solved problems with words instead of weapons. But everyone knew, everyone remembered, that she had also been there when Earth drew its line in the sand. The Hammer of Terra and the rest of the Ghost Fleet patrolled the frontier. Their weapons were rarely needed. Their mere presence was enough. The galaxy had learned the lesson that Earth had taught. The most dangerous being is not the one who fights constantly, but the one who chooses not to fight until there is no other choice. In schools across human space, children learned the phrase that had become a proverb: "Stop the attacks, or we stop being civil." They learned it not as a threat, but as a reminder. A reminder that civility is a choice, that mercy is a strength, not a weakness. That peace is valuable precisely because those who maintain it have the capability for war. The galaxy was changing. Slowly, imperfectly, but changing nonetheless. And at the heart of that change was a simple truth that Earth had demonstrated with both words and weapons. Civilization is not about being harmless. It is about choosing not to harm when you have the power to destroy. Earth had made that choice, and in making it, had shown the galaxy what true strength looked like.